Stayfree, as you all know, is a women's hygiene brand who do a phenomenal amount of great work, particularly for young women who are just entering puberty. What I will do now is play a short video for all of you that was shared by Stayfree as a social message that they wanted to share with all of us.
मेरे पीरियड शुरू हो गए हैं।
पहली बार हो रहे हैं मुझे, तो काफी अजीब लग रहा है।
पीरियड्स में मुझे आसान काम भी मुश्किल लगता है, बहुत दर्द होता है।
मैं किसी के पास बैठ भी नहीं सकती और जब मैं उठती हूँ बार बार निशान चेक करती हूँ।
घर में एक ही वॉशरूम है तो पैड चेंज करने में मुझे शर्म आती है।
मुझे पैड को कचरे में छुपाना पड़ता है हर बार।
She may not understand what she's going through. She just needs to know you do. Over 2 million girls will get their first period in lockdown. Your daughter or sister could be one of them. Talk to her. Tell her.
It's normal. It's just a period.
Well, after that wonderful message, it is time to take a look at the topic today. The topic that was given to the participants 24 hours in advance is, this house believes that there should be a global cap on individual wealth. I repeat, this house believes that there should be a global cap on individual wealth. Before we move on to the teams today, we are very privileged to have 3 judges with us. As you know, we have changed the rules a little bit so that all 3 judges are neutral and do not belong to any of the participating schools. We have Ms. Anita Paul, who is the principal of the Billabong High School. We have Mr. Philip Barrett, who retired as the deputy headmaster from the illustrious Doon School. And we have Mr. Devendra Tuck, who is the general manager for media and communications at Save the Children. It's a privilege having all the judges with us today. Well, let's take a quick look at the 2 teams. For the Indian school Ghubra, Oman, we have Shama speaking for the motion, while Suyog will be speaking against. For the Indian language school Nigeria, Sogandhika is speaking for the motion, while Megha would be going against the motion. This would be the order in which we would go. Shama would be speaking first for the motion, followed by Megha speaking against the motion, then Sogandhika speaking for the motion, and then finally Suyog going against the motion. The score tallies would be filled up. First, every debater would get 6 minutes to place their arguments for or against the motion. And then after all the 4 speakers have placed their arguments, we will circle back for 4 minutes of rebuttal, where they can refute the points placed from the opposition bench. Well, with that said, I will stop my share. And Shama, if we can have you on camera, please. I can see that Shama has just joined. Shama, we would love to have you on camera as well because it's your turn to speak.
I'm sorry, my network.
No worries. We would like to check your network. So for the benefits of those few who don't know you yet, let's have introduce yourself.
So, hello everybody. I'm Kshama Sushil Kumar Mumbai. I'm currently in grade 11 and I've taken up humanities, and I am very passionate about public speaking, and I would like to thank Notebook for giving us this opportunity. Yeah.
Well, Shama, the privilege is all ours. If you are ready with your arguments, we will start your 6 minutes now.
According to a recent UN study, some 1,224 individual billionaires control $4.6 trillion worth of the global wealth supply. A nation will not survive morally or economically when so few have so much and so many have so little. Good evening to one and all present here. I strongly believe that there should be a global cap on individual wealth. Just as we have a floor in our economic house, that is the poverty line, which no one should be allowed to slip under, it is also imperative to have a ceiling on that house, a ceiling that is a cap on individual wealth. Before I put forth substantial arguments to support this motion, let me ask you, what exactly is a global cap on wealth? In layman's language, it is a legal limit on how much wealth an individual can accumulate. For as Chrystia Freeland said, To be sure that the new economy benefits us all and not just the plutocrats, we need to embark on an era of comparably ambitious economic change. We need a New Deal. The first basic reason as to why we need a cap is the demand side effect. For decades, low demand growth rising from income inequality has translated directly into slower economic growth. Therefore, redistributing wealth from the rich amongst the poor will ensure that elementary mechanisms of the market are not being affected. Think about the Great Depression of 1930, the French Revolution of 1789, and the Arab Spring of 2010. History is witness to the fact that economic disparity leads to social instability. In today's world, the richest 1% currently own 44% of the world's wealth. Do we really want history to repeat itself? Moving on to the next point, economic instability. When the rich accumulate wealth, they save the money, which people with lower incomes could have possibly spent. This affects the aggregate demand and ultimately causes unemployment. To stimulate demand, the government has to intervene by reducing interest rates. This feeds into misleading asset prices and was the major cause of the 2008 financial crisis. An alternative to this is to reduce the income inequality by placing a cap on wealth. Over the past 20 years, poverty has reached an alarming 12.7%. On the other hand, the wealthy buy islands as holiday resorts. And my common sense tells me that's money going to waste. The major contributor to this is the neoliberal thinking, which believes that people should accumulate as much wealth as they want. However, it was this very thinking that caused two developments: globalization and financial deregulation, both further increasing inequality. Another point to support my stance is caps on wealth can help us achieve the welfare state. In the 1900s, it was correct to say that some economies were fully capitalist. However, in today's world, no economy is really fully capitalist in nature, and most nations are working towards a welfare state. This is a system whereby the state undertakes projects to protect its citizens. Recent studies have shown that working towards a cap on wealth can help decrease income inequality by 2/3 of its current levels. And while my worthy opponents might argue that people like Bill Gates are philanthropists who contribute immensely for this purpose, how about we look at this logically? If there was no inequality, why would you need charity in the first place? Another major point is the possibility of bankruptcy. When the rich accumulate enormous wealth, they are also taking a huge risk of going bankrupt. The massive amounts wealthy people hold is subsequently lost, putting enormous pressure on the government, which in turn falls on the common man. To understand this point, think of Nirav Modi, who took a loan of $1.4 billion before simply disappearing. And of course, the unique Mr. Trump, who declared bankruptcy multiple times, and talking about it would take me another speech altogether. And lastly, climate change. Wealthy people consume more energy and consequently are responsible for more carbon emissions. Energy inequality has increased alongside income inequality, and placing a cap on wealth can help reverse this. For example, a study by Oxfam found that the richest 10% produce half the individual fossil fuel emissions. A thriving middle class is the source of prosperity in capitalist economies, not a consequence of it. We've heard stories about Robin Hood since the beginning of our school life, and there is a possibility to turn that story into reality. Ironically, as Mark Zuckerberg himself says, I don't know if I have an exact threshold on what amount of money someone should have, but at some point, no one deserves to have that much money. Over to the moderator.
Well done, Shama. Let's see how the judges score you on your arguments. Judges, if you could please turn to the scoring sheets. You are scoring Shama on those three heads on a total of 120. Each number can be less than or equal to 40. Bhattacharyya, I have your scores. Thank you. Mr. Tuck, I have your scores as well. Thank you so much. Anita ma'am, I have your scores too. Thank you. Shama, just give me a second while I put those scores in. Yes, I think I got all of them right. So Shama, if you're looking at the screen, these are your scores at the end of your initial 6 minutes of arguments. Very well done. Megha, you're up next. Megha, for the benefit of those few who haven't seen you debate yet, we would love to introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Megha Gopikutan and I am a student of class 10. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Notebook for giving us a wonderful platform to put forward our research-based points. And about my hobbies, I love dancing and singing. And my favorite subject is biology, and I aim to be a forensic surgeon.
All right, Megha. If you're ready with your arguments, we will start your time now.
A creative man is motivated by the desire to achieve. Creativity, motivation to reach heights, and the fire of desire within one is all based on one concept that I put forward as a prompt statement. There are no limits to what you can accomplish. Good evening to all. My name is Megha Gopikutan from Indian Language School, Lagos, and I will be going against today's topic. There should be a global cap on individual wealth. There can't be a cap imposed on a human's ability to dream and to achieve. That is what ensures humanity to progress. Anything to the contrary is stagnation, and stagnation is death. It breeds lethargy and incentivizes inaction. There is an impracticality of putting a cap on wealth. And some questions to be analyzed are, who gets to decide how much wealth is too much wealth? What's the metric to make that determination? And why should someone have the power to tell someone else that they have too much of wealth and have to give it up? When a person is capable of earning money at his good time, then why, because of a cap on wealth, should he restrain from earning? Is that not just politics of envy and greed? In our progressive society, we need a motivating factor to help us boost our economy and keep people working. Everybody has the right to pursue what they want in life. And if a person wishes to be a billionaire, it's up to that individual then to work hard and reach the goal. Take Elon Musk and SpaceX as an example. His company is now responsible for continuing NASA's mission with the space shuttle. Look at the billions in personal wealth he had to put on the line to make this happen. Now, imagine a world with arbitrary cap on wealth. Likely, SpaceX would have never come into existence because there wouldn't be enough reward to justify the incredible risk of starting before success was there. The wealthiest people in a progressive society contribute to the society by starting small businesses that turn into big businesses and which eventually turn into global businesses generating employment slots. It's merely a part of envy. Why people complain about their fortunes, and envy is a vice we should not tolerate. Everyone living in a progressive economic system enjoys the benefits of the freedoms which comes with capitalism and competitive markets. Each of us has the freedom to be an entrepreneur. And if we meet the demands of a large group of people, then the large profits will be our reward. Similarly, the progressive economic system who use their talents and skills to contribute to the preference fulfillment of others, and if they are innovative, then the income will be their fair share. What is wrong with a society in which some are very wealthy? Mukesh Ambani, who was named the richest Asian by Forbes in 2018, has invested in sectors like education, social, rural development, and healthcare. And in the year 2018, when Kerala was hit by a massive flood, he donated 71 crore rupees in cash and supplies. So to penalize the rich people, you want to kill off 50 million jobs, tens of millions of other people's investments into those companies, the products and services those companies have created to make life easier and better for everyone. And what about the donations, charity, and philanthropy? It's not a good trade-off, not at all. The governments have a limited range by which they can play a role in ensuring an egalitarian society. It has to ensure equality of opportunities, rights, and privileges free of exploitations and discrimination. To ensure that everyone has a level playing field in all of life's pursuits, beyond which each individual can seek their own individual fulfillment, can't be curbed or curtailed by any government. To curb is to curb process of humanity, and no process can serve like that for long. Beyond taking taxes, anything that a government does to take away individual wealth forcefully will tantamount to tyrannizing individual liberty and free will. This has no place in a civilized society. Having a wealth cap is ridiculous, and it is even more ridiculous to distribute the extra to others even after paying tax. It is unconstitutional and theft. This would be a disastrous policy and an absolute job killer. This would be viewed as bad for business by many corporations, and they would move out of country because they might not be able to pay upkeep costs. I would like to conclude by sharing a small story. During an interview, people from different sectors of the economy were asked how much time they required to buy a Mercedes. There were different answers. Some said 2 years, while some said few months. But the billionaire's reply was unique, depicting his thought. He said that it would take him a minimum of 5 years. The interviewer was astonished listening to his reply and asked why 5 years. He replied with a smiling face that Mercedes is a very big company. So there is no limit to your dreams. Believe in them and you can achieve. And this will not be possible if there's a cap on wealth. Thank you. And over to the moderator.
Well done, Megha. Some wonderful arguments there. Let's see how the judges are scoring you for those. Judges, if you could please put in Megha's scores. Remember, she's in the 4th column on your score sheets. Mr. Tak, Bharat sir, I have both your scores. Thank you. Anita ma'am, I have your scores as well. Thank you. Megha, just give me a second. Well, Megha, if you can see the screen, these are your scores after your initial 6 minutes of arguments on your screen now. Very well done. Saugandhika, you're up next. Your teammate has done well. Let's see how you go for this motion. Before you start your arguments, for the benefit of those who are seeing you for the first time, we would love you to introduce yourself.
Greetings of the day, and I am Saugandhika Peri. I am very enthusiastic when it comes to dancing, singing, writing poems, and public speaking. I would like to thank Notebook for this opportunity. It gave us a lot of learning. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. As I said, the privilege is completely ours. Saugandhika, if you're ready with your arguments, we will start your 6 minutes now.
He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have. After making $1 gazillion, won't a part of you want to keep it all? Extreme wealth, isn't it just the mirror of dictatorship? Immense wealth translates automatically into immense environmental impacts, regardless of the intentions of those who possess it. The very wealthy, almost as a matter of definition, are committing an ecocide. The link between wealth and environmental destruction is clear to see. And without far-reaching lifestyle changes and fundamental shifts in our attitude towards money, things are only going to get worse. Individual sacrifices among the wealthy are needed. A change in economic paradigm is sorely needed. The idea of sustainable growth is a utopia that will not be achieved in reality. Wouldn't you all agree with me that wealth will always roll faster than technology down a hill? There are some that are so rich that they cannot outspend what they make as an interest in a day. So the money sits there for the sake of vanity. People are homeless and are starving with horrible living standards, while billionaires buy exotic cars to sit unseen in garages for decades. Let us take an example of the grading system in each school. We are either given 100 on 100 or an A+. There's nothing beyond that. There are so many categories of achievement a child can make regardless of his grade. Even in this case, there is scope for growth. Similarly, let there be a cap on the individual wealth, but no boundaries for that man's growth in his field. Scientists and economists have been warning us to re-examine our economy, but so far, little attention has been paid to that. Our houses continue to burn while the rich get richer. Let us talk about the so-called rich US. The southern states of US, namely Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Florida, have high levels of income inequality and much poorer outcomes in health and social areas. The individual wealth accumulated by the richest in the world is not even close to the GDP of the poorest 5 to 15 countries. They are running in population of millions and are striving to provide basic infrastructure, sanitation, food, healthcare, and education. If only there was a wealth cap that could regulate the wealth accumulated by an individual, find a fair mean to distribute it to the needy, we would be in a much better state. In 2018, Nigeria was crowned as the poverty capital of the world. And the same year, it made headlines as the country with the highest number of Nigerian billionaires. Weird, right? The rich are getting obscenely richer. Why are CEOs paid 350 times more than that of an average worker? Isn't it all about equity? Growth does not need to be ruled over by money. Big money interests can use direct or indirect means of bribery to control the behavior of key people in media. Most of these tactics are considered perfectly legal and are very difficult to detect. We may have a democracy or wealth concentrated in hands of few, but we cannot have both. Amazon sellers inflated prices of hazmat suits, face masks, and hand sanitizers. For example, before Amazon ran out of stock of N95 face masks, they were priced at $13.28, reasonable. But CNBC found examples of those face masks being sold for $195. The people who have benefited the most in recent years should bear the burden of the cost programs that help the rest of the population. In light of widening the gap between economic rich and poor, they should use tax code to reduce inequality more aggressively than today's tax codes do. They should denote some revenues to fund programs that benefit the less well-off citizens. Won't capping limit individual greed? In his inaugural speech, President Obama once said, "The nation cannot prosper long when it favors only the prosperous." Inequality is bad and getting worse. In 1980s, the richest 10% of the population in OECD countries earned 7 times more than the poorest 10%. Now they nearly earn 10 times more. When you include property and other forms of wealth, the situation is even worse. In 2012, the richest 10% controlled half of total household wealth, and the wealthiest held 1% of 18%, compared to only 3% left for the poorest 40%. We cannot put a cap on mentality. I mean, it's above our abilities, but we can make sure that the money that goes into the wealthy and greedy pockets is less. Surplus money allows some people to exercise inordinate power over others. The grim truth is that rich exist because there are poor, and life depends on moderation, my friend. Money is needed to live, but at the same time, money is the root of all evil. In this life, having a lot of money makes life easier. But after all, money was made to make life easier. But the exact opposite has been happening, and we let it. It's time to bring an end, and putting a limit is the start. Putting a cap just helps control and circulate the money. Why should the rich get richer? Can't the poor reach basic standards of living? Thank you, and over to the moderator.
Well done, Saugandhika. Some wonderful arguments there. Let's see how the judges are scoring you for those. Anita ma'am, I have your scores. Thank you so much. Bharat sir, I have your scores as well. Thank you. And Mr. Tuck, I have your scores as well. Give me a second, Saugandhika, while I quickly tabulate those scores for you. Well, Saugandhika, if you can see the screen, these are your scores after your initial 6 minutes of arguments up there now. Very well done. Congratulations. And we come to Suyog.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, Suyog, we can see you, we can hear you, and we would love you to introduce yourself to all the people meeting you for the first time.
Yeah. So hey guys, I'm Suyog. I'm a student of grade 12 from Indian School at Ghubra. My main hobbies are playing video games and public speaking. And for that, I would like to actually thank Notebook for this opportunity. During this pandemic time, it's been hard on all of us. And this is a good distraction. And it's a very good opportunity for all of us. Thank you so much.
Glad we could help, Suyog. If you're ready with your arguments, we will start your time for the debate now.
The money you make is a symbol of the value you create. Ido Koyenikin. A very good evening to one and all present here today. I, Suyog Suhas Bhatt, strongly oppose the motion there should be a global cap on individual wealth. What exactly do we mean by individual wealth? Individual wealth is usually measured as net worth, which is the value of your aggregate assets after subtracting the value of all your aggregate liabilities. Now, when we talk about capping this individual wealth, we are talking about restricting how much a person can earn in a given period of time. And if they earn more than that, their money will just be taken away and given to someone else. This whole idea is so conceptually flawed that I wonder how my opponents could ever argue that it should be implemented. Your wealth is yours. What you wish to do with it is your choice. And as far as you are concerned about how much wealth you make, that freedom is yours and yours alone too. If it is taken away, we are only digging the graves of our economy. These are the major reasons why putting up a global cap on individual wealth is an absolute mistake. Caps on individual wealth will destroy innovations. Money is one of the most common incentives for innovators to come up with innovations by which they can earn huge amounts of money. Thinking out of the box is one of the major motivators for many individuals to come up ideas in the modern world. But when we put a restriction on how much they can actually earn from these ideas, not only will they feel discouraged, but also demotivated from coming up with new things. For example, take Elon Musk and SpaceX. His company is now responsible for continuing NASA's mission with the space shuttle. Think about the incredible risk to start a company to build spaceships privately at a time when there was no private space industry. The billions in personal wealth that he put on the line to make this happen. Now imagine a world with an arbitrary cap on wealth. Likely, SpaceX would have never come into existence because there wouldn't be enough motivation for starting it when the success cannot be assured. Thus, a cap on individual wealth is antithetical to the very spirit of human achievement. The very idea of a global cap is flawed. When we talk about a global cap, we are saying that all individuals spread all over the world must have the right to earn only a certain amount of money. And if they earn more than that, the excess money will be taken away from them and given to someone else. First of all, it is absolutely impossible to find a common ground between the currencies of the world. The US dollar to rupee exchange ratio was $1 to 71 rupees on 1st January 2020, $1 to 78 rupees on 1st April 2020, and $1 to 74 rupees just yesterday. And that too, these are just two currencies. In this constantly fluctuating market, how does my opposition propose that we will ever find a common global cap? It is impossible. But let's assume that in some alternate reality, we do find a common global cap. Then who will decide where the extra wealth will go? Who will decide who is the worthy poor and who is not? Who will be there to supervise that the money given away is properly used? The government? Who is to say that they won't funnel some of the money for themselves in the process? Corruption exists everywhere and we all know about it. Now, my worthy opponents may suggest that an independent body handle this. But just imagine, this body will have its own expenses, salaries for employees, technological expenses, and the cost of running and collecting database about information of all the citizens. And once all these costs pile up, the money collected from the rich will be used to run the organization itself. What is left for the poor? Absolutely nothing. Most wealthy people are philanthropists. The modern world looks down upon rich people who do not part with their wealth. With corporate social responsibility and public welfare playing a huge role in our daily lives, it is very hard to come across people who do not give back to the society. Apple spent 161.2 million rupees in 2019 for CSR, and all of the richest people in the world either have their own charity foundations or are affiliated with one. Bill Gates, through his philanthropic work in the health sector, has contributed $150 million to find a vaccine for the pandemic, just to make the vaccine cheap, as much as $3 for each person. The super rich, be it giants of information technology or a highly paid actor like Amitabh Bachchan, everyone is giving back to the society. But putting a restriction on how much one can earn and how much they should give back is just a discouraging step for all. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to realize that when people are restricted from earning, they are also restricted from working and giving. Once people reach the cap of how much they are allowed to earn, they will just stop. Because after all, what's the point? We aren't allowed to keep the money, nor do we have any freedom over what we earn. Rather than that, we must have the choice and the freedom as to how much we earn, how much we invest back into the industry, how much of our money we deploy to uplift the less fortunate. It is our decision and it shouldn't be forced upon us. Thus, the whole idea of a global cap on an individual's wealth is one of the most conceptually flawed ideas out there. One that, if effected, is going to decimate the world economy. Over to the moderator.
Well done, Suyog. Some powerful arguments there. Let's see how the judges are scoring you. Bharat sir, I have your scores. Thank you. Mr. Tak, I have your scores as well, and Anita ma'am, I have your scores too. Just give me a second so that I can quickly tabulate them. Well, Suyog, if you are seeing the screen, these are your scores at the end of your initial 6 minutes of arguments on the screen now. Well done. And this is when we circle back for the rebuttal. Each of you have heard the opposition bench argue the motion against your point of view. So let's see how you respond to their beliefs, their arguments. Shama, we'll start with you. Remember, as always, you're not arguing the opponent's school, but the opposing bench.
I'm sorry, my net is broke. Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you, I can see you. Your connection seems fine.
Okay, great.
And don't worry, in case it drops off in the middle, we'll pause the time, we'll wait for you to join back. Not a problem. All right?
Yeah.
Shama, if you're ready with your rebuttal, we will start your 4 minutes now.
Rising economic inequality is ultimately self-defeating. Therefore, going against this motion is asking for an end of our economy. My worthy opponent started by saying that capping wealth destroys innovation. Firstly, the wealth that is collected will help support a range of benefits and services, some of which can make innovation more likely. Conversely, a lack of benefits can stifle innovation. Therefore, capping wealth helps entrepreneurs who come from less privileged backgrounds, which only aids innovation. Secondly, as wealth accumulates in a few hands in the name of innovation, Isn't it foreseeable that they also accumulate power? Rules and laws will be made to benefit the privileged few, giving rise to crony capitalism. The market forces will be artificially skewed in their direction, leaving the majority to earn less. Next, the opposition argued that we won't find a common ground between currencies, and therefore this concept is conceptually flawed. If my worthy opponents are not aware, we already have a poverty line which was calculated keeping all these problems in mind, and it worked quite well. Therefore, if this is the only problem, be assured there are some really good economists out there who are doing the job perfectly well. The opposing bench also mentioned that governments are corrupt. Therefore, we don't know if they're using the wealth correctly. The question there is not whether we should cap wealth or not. It is about how to go about this. Once capping wealth is recognized in principle, it will become easier to think of ways to achieve it. And for that matter, tech giants like Apple and Microsoft are amongst the world's most admired, most beloved, most innovative companies. They also happen to be particularly adept at influencing the tax system to lower their tax bill. So it is better not to talk about abuse of economic might. My worthy opponents also said that most wealthy people are philanthropists, and I cannot begin to explain the inherent problem with that idea. Before you reach any conclusions that Bill Gates and Mukesh Ambani spend millions on charities, so what are you saying? Hear me out. Firstly, this philanthropy is self-serving by suggesting that governments shouldn't demand more from the super rich when they are already doing so much. As Wall Street Journal editorial pages put it, if we had a wealth tax, it's unlikely that Bill Gates would have the capacity to act this boldly. This is just a way for them to tell governments, well, I gave you so much, now you work your policies to benefit me. And secondly, the wealth contributed on an average by a rich person is 1.3% to charity as compared to middle class people who contribute 3.2%. Who really gives back to society is quite clear. No matter how wealthy a few plutocrats get, they can never drive a great national economy. The income pie is highly uneven, with few feasting on a lot and many feasting on a little. We need to fix the glaring economic inequality before us, and capping wealth is but a step towards achieving this. Over to the moderator.
Well done, Shama. Some very powerful rebuttal there. Let's see how the judges are scoring you. Judges, remember, this is the time you fill in the bottom 3 rows. You can fill in any number between 0 and 20 based on how you choose to judge. Shama? Ma'am, I have your scores. Thank you so much. Bharat, I have your scores as well, and Mr. Tuck, I have your scores as well. As you know, we will show you the scores for the rebuttal after we are done with all 4 of your rebuttals. Right, so it's time we go across to Megha. Megha, if you're ready with your rebuttal. Yeah, I can hear you, I can see you. If you're ready with your rebuttal, we will start your time for 4 minutes now.
So I would like to start with an example clearly stating the impracticality of having a cap on wealth. Let's say in an exam, on an average, students score 60% mark. And there are some other children who did a lot of hard work and secured above 90%. Would you like to cap the scoring percentages to 60% since the average score of the class is only that much? Think about those children who did a lot of hard work and secured high percentages. They will then become lethargic, keeping in mind that the cap is quite easy for them to achieve without any much effort. And those who scored less will also continue to be lethargic and won't aim to achieve more. If this cannot work in a simple classroom, how can you expect it to work on a larger platform? Coming to the donations made by the rich, Bill Gates is not only one of the richest people in the world, but also one of the most generous. According to Forbes, in June 2017, he donated 4.6 billion worth of it in Microsoft shares to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to combat malaria and improve healthcare around the world. There's nothing wrong with a society that has a group of super rich people as long as they have the money legally earned without having engaged in criminal activities and tax evasion. My fellow opponent stated a point asking why CEOs are paid more than regular employees. I would like to give you a simple example that would prove that question invalid. You get first prize in a competition. Would you agree to get the same prize and privilege as others? Won't you feel content when you get a prize that does justice to the hard work you have done and differentiates from the others? Same way, salaries and privileges are set according to the position and the responsibility of the person in the enterprise. Keeping a cap will not eradicate malpractices like in taxes. Even a man of common economic class will try to do malpractices to earn profits, clearly highlighting the fact that keeping a cap limit will not help in eradicating malpractices. Money made illegally cannot be used for transactions. It will thus be unaccounted and cannot be considered as wealth. But as the saying goes, why should we burn a house to smoke out rats? My fellow opponent also mentioned about disparities in Nigeria. Let me give you an example. Aliko Dangote made a personal donation of 2 billion naira to support the cause, donated to provide treatment, testing, training, and isolation centers across the country. And as we say, an empty mind is the devil's workshop. Donating money to people who don't earn it themselves is not right. It develops laziness in people, and they will ultimately stop valuing what they get for free. And moreover, a person is rich not only because of what he earns, instead also based on how much he spends and saves. So I would like to conclude by saying there is no limit to what you can achieve. Aim for it, work towards it, and you will find yourself there. Thank you, and over to the moderator.
Well done, Megha. Let's see how the judges are scoring you on that very, very passionate rebuttal there. Anita ma'am, with your permission, can I move these scores to Megha's column? Thank you, ma'am. Bharat sir, I have your scores. Thank you. And Mr. Tuck, I have your scores as well. Sogandika, you're up next. Sogandika, if you can come back on the camera, please. Yeah, I can see you. Sogandika, if you're ready with your rebuttal, we will start your 4 minutes now.
My worthy opponent mentioned about the company owners and their wealth. A cap on a single person's richness is not a cap on the company's growth. Didn't all the employees put in their sweat and effort? What about the idea of circulation of extra money directly to the company? This ensures the growth of the company and also follows the rules and regulations of a cap. My worthy opponent also mentioned that a person having $1 million can help the society. But what about another person having the same amount of money but is following the path of dishonesty? Isn't one rotten apple enough to spoil the whole bunch? My opponent mentioned that about freedom being snatched away. Freedom isn't the basis of money alone. It is about opportunities and freedom for all. Not having enough money doesn't take away one's freedom. In fact, it gives it to those who have lost their money because of these rich people. There is a max limit to your grades. It is either 100% or an A+, and depends on how much you score, and it's not more than that. I wanted to repeat myself and clear this point out. I have heard them say that capping would kill dreams. Having $1 million in their pockets is a dream for many. Assuming to have a cap above that will not shut their dreams down. The fact that 1% has more money than the poorest 50% is ridiculous. 1 billion should be more than enough for a person. With that amount, even their kids and their grandkids could spend it in their lifetime without falling short of money. I would like to conclude by stating a point. Giving does not depend on how much money you have. It depends on the spirit of giving. For giving, you don't need to have billions. All you need is a giving heart and a serving hand. Thank you so much.
Well done, Saugandhika. Let's see how the judges are scoring you on that rebuttal. Judges, if you could please put in Saugandhika's scores now. Bharat sir, I have your scores. Thank you. Anita ma'am, I have your scores too. Thank you. And Mr. Tuck, I have your scores as well. Thank you so much. So Suyog, it's your turn.
Yes, am I audible and visible?
Yep, we can see you clearly. We can hear you loud and clear. And let's see how you rebut those points made before you. If you're ready with your rebuttal, we will start your time now.
A global cap on individual wealth is not only restricting for all individuals, but a step closer to the destruction of the economy as we know it. The opposition, however, believes that it will only have positive effects. And let me tell you, that is just a utopian fantasy. The opposition proposed a major point about how when we cap an individual's wealth, we can give it to the poor and reduce income inequality and boost the economy. This idea is completely wrong. And let me give you an example. The public distribution system of India. The Food Corporation of India, or FCI, collects agricultural produce from farmers and provides it at subsidized rates to the poor through the PDS system. Notice how I said subsidized and not free. Every year, tons of food grains remain unsold in the FCI storages and rot away. Yet, the FCI doesn't give this away for free because people have not earned it. Now, when we talk about capping an individual's wealth, we are talking about taking money away from people who have earned it and giving it to people who had absolutely nothing to do with it. This ideology will lead to such a lazy economy because the common man will get used to getting money without doing anything to earn it, yielding the exact opposite result as portrayed by my worthy opponents. It will not lead to an active and thriving economy, but rather a lazy and unproductive one. The opposing bench also proposed that rich people hardly do anything to help poor and quoted an example of Bill Gates. Well, let me elaborate the same example. 99% of Bill Gates' net worth is his stock in his own company. A cap on wealth would mean that he would have to sell a part of his company. It would end up meaning that he loses control of it. A company which he built with his own hands and his own talent. Do you think this will encourage other people out there to start new companies and create new jobs? Knowing the fact that most of what you earn will just be taken away and given to others who had nothing to do with it is only going to discourage them. Another major point proposed was that the rich hold money and have a greater chance of bankruptcy. And an example of Nirav Modi was given. Well, for one, Punjab National Bank, a government bank, granted him the loan without proper documentation and verification. When the state is unable to handle the banking system without corruption, a system that has been established for ages, how can we say that such a huge economic transformation can be handled without corruption? Also, I fail to understand how a cap would help to prevent bankruptcy. Each and every person has an equal chance to be bankrupt, and that is one of the major reasons why people save money. However, if there is a cap, people's savings will be taken away to meet the requirements of income inequality, leaving people even more exposed to the chance of bankruptcy. So actually, a cap would just ruin the situation for all. When we talk about a global cap, we mean a cap that is established all over the world. This is not a small economic change, but quite the opposite. The points my worthy opponents have proposed has just strengthened my stance that a global cap on individual wealth will be a huge mistake, the effects of which will leave the economy of the world in tatters. I request the audience and the opposition to open their eyes to this obvious reality. A global cap on individual wealth is not the answer. Over to the moderator.
Well done, Suyog. Let's see how the judges are scoring you on that rebuttal. Judges, if you could please put in Suyog's scores. Ma'am, I have your scores. Thank you so much. Bharat sir, I have your scores. And Mr. Tuck, I have your scores as well. Thank you. Well, we have heard all four of you debate. We have heard all four of you also put the gloves out a little and engage in that wonderful rebuttal. I have your scores, but I'll tell you that in a bit. For now, let me tell you a little bit about Notebook. We at Notebook try to make studies more equitably available and more fun for everyone with short, crisp videos. What we do is we take every topic of every subject in your school syllabus and convert them into these small, crisp videos, which are used in two cases. One, when the teacher is taking a class, where he or she can start with a short video, which just takes about 10 to 15% of the class time, and then start a more engaging discussion around the topic with the students. Now, let's say a few months later when you have your exam, you have access to the same video from your personal device, be it a laptop or a smartphone or whatever device you have. You can then quickly watch that video, revise that topic, and be reminded of what your teacher taught in class that day. What I'm going to do now is show you a small clip of one of the Notebook videos so that you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Indians thought that the British were hatching a plan to destroy the castes of the Hindus and Muslims living in India and to convert them all to Christianity. No one knew if all this was true, but fear gripped the hearts of common men and women. Panic spread, and British officers could not convince the Indians otherwise. There was a prophecy that British rule in India would come to an end on 23rd June 1857, which was the centenary of the Battle of Plassey. In the Battle of Plassey, the East India Company forces had defeated the Nawab of Bengal and his French allies on the same date in 1757. The discontent brewing among the people of the subcontinent had given them a newfound unity and strength. There were strange rites being followed in many parts of North India, from where the rebellion spread. One such ritual was chapati distribution. A person would visit villages in North India at night and give the watchman a chapati. Then he would ask the watchman to make 5 more chapatis and distribute them in the next village. In the wake of this fear of losing their religious faith and their caste, the sepoys and the commoners rose into action. The sepoys began their action with one signal across their various sites of rebellion. They fired the evening gun or sounded the bugle. Then they captured the bell of arms and looted the treasury. They attacked government buildings, the jail, treasury, telegraph office, record room, and bungalows. They burnt all records. They destroyed everything associated with the British and killed innumerable white men, or the Firangis, as the Indians called them. They organized calls for action for both Muslims and Hindus by putting up proclamations in Hindi, Urdu, and Persian in different cities. Who validated these rebellions and gave the sepoys the strength to launch the mutiny against the British? The old Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah, gave his blessings to the mutineers. He had no choice. On 11th May 1857, the sepoys had galloped right into the Red Fort without following court etiquette and demanded the blessings of Bahadur Shah Zafar. After receiving his blessings, they carried out the revolts in the name of the emperor.
Well, that was a short clip of one of the Notebook videos. We have with us today Achin Bhattacharyya. Achin is the founder and CEO of Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, he was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. Before that, he has held senior positions in all the 4 major consultancies across the globe, both in India and abroad. Achin, if you could have you give your thoughts about today's debate.
Hello everyone. So happy to see this wonderful semi-final session. Reaching top 4 among 64 acclaimed schools from different parts of the globe is a great achievement. And all of you are indeed achievers in your own right. You have done your school, teachers, parents, and friends proud. The best team of the day will win and proceed to 0-hour finals on 15th. But all of you have put up a great show, and I'm confident that irrespective of the outcome of today's match, all of you will grow from strength to strength from here. The rebuttals were especially good and demonstrated some great listening skills. Real-life debates will never be pre-scripted, and all of you need to be ready for surprises coming on your way. And that it's important to be able to respond logically to your colleagues or fellow citizens. At Notebook, me and my team have taken a pledge to keep the spirit of our dear students high, and will thus regularly come up with new concepts and ideas to connect schools and students from across the globe. I also thank all stakeholders who have contributed to this wonderful session. All the learned adjudicators, principals of both the schools, and all teachers and parents who have invested their dreams and hard work on each one of you. I also thank our esteemed audience for making Zero Hour a grand success. This has by far been the biggest online debate for school children in recent times, and all credit for making this possible goes to you. We are humbled with your love and support. Take care, stay safe, and goodbye. Over to you, Shubhayu.
Thank you, Achin. At Zero Hour, we are also extremely proud to have partnered with Save the Children. Save the Children is an NGO that works tirelessly across the globe for over a century now in helping children who are less fortunate than most of us here. Children facing premature death, children growing up in hostile environments. Save the Children reaches out to these children across the world in helping them save their childhoods. Here's a short message from their CEO, Ms. Bidesha Pillai, that we would like to share with you all.
Save the Children was born in 1919. 100 years is not a milestone that many organizations or individuals can claim to have reached. And for us, it's been a tireless, relentless journey to ensure that every child has access to their rights. Every child has a voice. But when we look back at 100 years, because 100 is also a time to reflect, we wonder what it would be like to live in a world where children don't need to be saved. Perhaps we could live in a world where Save the Children does not need to exist. And so as we look at the future, we envision a world which is much kinder to its children. A world in which children no longer need to be protected from violence. Where children are not needlessly dying before they turn 5. Where every child is going to school, is learning, is playing, and is on that path towards fulfilling their full potential. As we turn 100, we pledge to work towards that future of a much kinder and brighter world for children. Every day, every hour, every minute, we will continue on that path. But we also know we can't do it alone. We want to work closely with the communities, with our partners, with the government, and most importantly with the children themselves. They are going to be the change makers of tomorrow. Children like Onuyara, like Rahul, like Salman, like Mamta, they are the ones who are breaking gender stereotypes. They are challenging social norms, and they are changing the world and the lives of themselves and also children around them. We pledge to continue working with them, alongside them, to ensure that every child gets the right start. I'm Bidesha Pillai, and I invite you to join Save the Children in our commitment to ensure that every child gets the right start.
Well, after those wonderful messages, if I don't show the scores, I'm quite sure the participants are going to bash me up. So here are the scores. After your 6 minutes of arguments and 4 minutes of rebuttal, Shama, you finished with an average score of 146. Megha, you're at 154. Saugandhika is at 142. Suyog is at 158. Which means these are your school averages. The Indian school Oman averaging 152. The Indian Language School, Lagos, Nigeria, you're at 148, which is a very slim margin of 4 points. Audience, this is where you get to get a say. You get to choose your speaker of the day. And the school with the speaker of the day in the team gets 20 additional points, which means that could very well be the decider here. I will now put up a poll on your screen. Let me stop the share so that you can, yeah. You will get a poll on your screen that you will get 1 minute time to vote. Remember, you can vote only once. So think well and then vote. You've heard all the 4 wonderful debaters debate. So it's not going to be an easy choice. If you're looking at your screens, the poll should be on your screens now. We're about 25 seconds in and we've had about 90% of the votes. Just about 30 more votes to come in. 20 seconds left on the clock. The last few seconds left. And that is a minute. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the result of the audience poll on your screen. Shama getting 5% of the votes, Suyog with 17%, Sogandhika with 19%, but running away in the polls, Megha Gopikutan from the Indian Language School, Lagos, with 59% votes, is our speaker of the day. Megha, congratulations.
Thank you.
I will stop my share, and while I tabulate the final scores, I would like the judges to please give your feedback, your summary of the debate. If Bharat sir, if we could start with you, please.
Am I audible, Subayu?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
So it's Notebook reached out, stretched its arms out to Indian schools all over the place. And am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we can hear you.
And we had these 2 schools, one from West Africa and one from the Arabian Peninsula. And it's interesting to note that both these schools have a very similar crest. Both the crests indicate a torch or a lamp, which really stands for knowledge. So that's, there's a common stream that runs through the 2 schools, and, they've got a lot of knowledge over here. I'm sure their torches and lamps are burning brightly. Let me tell you, there is nothing so tedious as listening to a debate that is one-sided and poorly spoken or poorly debated. But these debates were neither. They were very, very exciting and they were top class. In fact, I think Notebook has done such a good job that Subayu and company should now organize or plan to run debates for other schools. They are experts at running debates. I must say that the debates were of top class. I mean, there's no way, there's nothing to differentiate between you all. Risma, you went first. You set the standards. I love your measured manner in which you speak. You held the audience. Suyog, I admire your clarity of thinking and your logic. And you showed us the futility of the process of wealth distribution. Sugandhika, I liked your link between wealth and environment. Paper, for example, how the rich use paper much more than the poor. And Megha, you get better with each debate. I really envy your talent. Well done, all of you. I shall miss listening to you after these debates are over. Thank you very much. Over to you, Subayu.
Thank you so much, sir. Your words are always a huge source of encouragement. As for running debates for other schools, today is the 32 plus 4 plus 1. So that's 37th debate that we are hosting. And the kind of envy and jealousy that I get when I see these young people debating. I don't think I can take much more of that. With that, we will move on to the next judge. We have Ms. Anita Paul with us. We are privileged to have her with us. Incidentally, today's topic is very interesting and has a relevance to her. Ms. Paul was the vice principal at the Vidya Gyan School, which is part of the Shivnadar Foundation's philanthropic initiatives. Ma'am, it's our privilege having you with us today. If you could have your summary of today's debate.
Good evening, and I know there will be time differences everywhere, but it was an amazing session, and all the kids, whether they were from the African continent or from the Middle East, I think so they were amazingly to the point. They had done their work in finding out relevant data. I specifically like Suyog's outlook towards the economy, as well as how he supported the philanthropy. And philanthropy is very close to our hearts. I have worked with one of the best philanthropists of the world, Mr. Shivnadar. And working with him, I've learned that giving back to the society is the biggest gift that God has given to any human being. And obviously, Bill Gates was quoted a lot. Amazing. All the best to the contestants. I think so they are doing a wonderful job. I'm looking forward to some more amazing sessions of debates. But definitely congratulations to all four speakers. All four of them were bang on on what they had to say. Their way of rebutting each other was very good. They were very forceful in putting forward the relevant points that they wanted to. All the best, and I hope to see more of this in the future. And kudos to the notebook. They are doing a wonderful job. They're bringing schools across the globe to one platform. So congratulations to you all also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This is such a huge encouragement coming from you. Mr. Tuck, you're up next. You've been our partner in this journey over the last so many debates. I know we are wreaking havoc on your days, but I believe they are completely worth it.
You're absolutely right. It's been again a pleasure today to hear all four of the speakers. And because Save the Children is a charity itself, I'm amazed not only with your knowledge, but your personal insights into what charity really is. And you've been all able, whether you're for the motion or against the motion, you have been able to hit the nail on the head. And I don't think anybody, even in the charity space, could have spoken more credibly than each one of you. And of course, I think like some, one of the judges mentioned that, the performances have been much better, I guess, today than even the quarterfinals. And even taking each one of you as an example, I mean, if I name Suyog, I mean, you were, of course, vastly more confident, I think, today, and much more clear and really very impactful in the way you came through with your arguments. And yeah, I mean, all four of you were brilliant. And even in the rebuttals, like you were much more stronger, much more clearer, and it was like a to and fro thing. I mean, you were scoring well in the first round, then some people did better in the rebuttals. So a very confident display of your debating skills, and it shows your clarity of thinking and a very good understanding of the world that we live in, and how we need to approach the problems that we face in humanity today. And just want to make one quick point here. I mean, because we know that many of the graduations among schools and colleges are happening online and not really in the real space. I believe that it was Obama who mentioned that COVID-19 has shown that the world is right now faced with such huge problems that it shows children and the youth of today that the grown-ups haven't solved all the problems, So there are many problems which are still there, which is now up to the new generations to come to tackle and to show that, yes, humanity can survive, can evolve, and can be a better place for children and for every human being. So yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to each one of you contributing towards that. And I wish you all the very best, whether you go to the finals today or you go to the finals some other time in some other competition. Wonderful listening to all of you.
Thank you so much, sir. All four of you, please come back on your cameras. Shama, Suyog. Yes, great to see all four of you. Shama and Suyog, this is where we bid you goodbye, but phenomenally well done. I have been in envy of your debating talents, and I'm not overstating that even the slightest. Suyog, particularly, there's one thing about you. I am a huge fan of West Indian fast bowlers. Michael Holding, the fast bowler from the 70s, was called Whispering Death because he would just brush past the umpire without the umpire knowing that a fast bowler has rushed by. Your debating has that Whispering Death style to it. Absolutely in awe of it. And Shama, you switch on and switch off like a light bulb. You would give me this very calm and quiet, composed introduction. Hi, I'm Shama. I enjoy public speaking. Shama, your time starts now. I believe this house believes. Amazing ability. Fantastic. I can see Megha laughing at that because she has the same style. Well, it's been fantastic having both of you on this debate, and we'll look forward to seeing you in our future endeavors. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. But ladies and gentlemen, today's winners. And congratulations to Megha Gopikuttan and Saugandika Perry, because these are the final statistics. The Indian School Oman finishing with an average of 152. The Indian Language School Nigeria getting to 168, thanks to Megha getting those 20 additional points for being the best speaker, which means today's winner for semi-final 1 is the Indian Language School Lagos, Nigeria. You go on to the finals and have a tougher battle to fight. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's been all from us today. We look forward to seeing you in our second semi-final tomorrow. Until then, take care and goodbye.